Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first afternoon meeting, 2 o'clock on a beautiful day in the city of Prince Albert. So I want to thank everyone for coming, and I'm looking forward to the meeting and some good positive exchange. With that, I'll ask you to all rise and the city clerk to say the prayer.
O God, let us each in our own way ask your wisdom and guidance in our deliberations. Help us to incorporate into all our decisions those values which will enable us to fulfill our mission to act as responsible stewards and to respect and value the cultural and spiritual tradition of all citizens of the city of Prince Albert. For this we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll move to number 3, approval of the agenda. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. That the agenda for this meeting be approved as presented and presentations, delegations, speakers listed on the agenda be heard when called forward by the Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zepp?
Second.
Thank you very much. And I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. And carried. Thank you. Presentations, we have none. Declaration of conflict of interest, you all understand what that is. If you have a conflict, you report it, and then you excuse yourself and report it to the clerk so she can record it on the minutes. Number 6, adoption of the minutes. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the minutes of the council regular meeting held June 12th, 2023 be taken and read and adopted.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you. I'll second that.
Thank you, and I'll prompt the question. Question is now open and carried. Thank you. Notice of proclamations, I actually have none today. Number 8, public hearings, we have none. Number 9, delegations, we have none. Number 10, communications, we have none. Number 11, reports of administrations and committees. 11.1, airport terminal. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to move that the cost of this detailed design of the airport terminal with Prairie Architect Incorporated be increased by $452,982 for a total design fee of $1,942,740, excluding provincial sales tax, to complete the remaining 30% detailed design, bringing the design to tender ready. 2, that the cost increase be funded from the passenger facility fee reserve, and 3, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute any necessary documents on behalf of the city if required.
Thank you. A seconder? Okay. Councillor Zepp?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments? This has been moved forward from executive, so I'll prompt the question. It is now open. And carried. $11.2, Provincial Disaster Assistance Program application. Go. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you. I'll move that the city apply to the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency to be designated an eligible assistance area under the Provincial Disaster Assistance Program, which provides financial assistance for restoring essential services and property as a result of substantial damages caused by rainstorm events on June 1st, 5th, and 25th, 2023.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. And we have some discussion. We have Councillor Miller, then Councillor Cody. Go ahead, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. About approximately how many properties were damaged and during this time? And also, how does one apply? Do they just come to the front counter and apply for the funds?
Very good question. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Mayor, and to Councillor's question. So over the course of those 3 events, I think we would be tracking kind of around 20 properties in total. Now, it's something, they all differ in what kind of damage they did sustain. In terms of how will they come and apply, to be honest, that's something that we're still going to be working out ourselves. We did receive this and kind of reviewed this kind of just shortly before the meeting. But we sure wanted to make sure that we got this in so that we could open that up as a potential avenue for residents to get some assistance.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is our first step was to apply.
You bet.
And now they'll give us the details on how to do it. But I'm pleased that they're even allowing us to apply. Okay, any other questions on this one? Okay, hearing none, I'll move to prompt the question. Questions now open. And carried. Thank you. Eleven point three, permanent reclass, full-time casual maintenance worker 2. Councillor Edwards.
Also move that the casual maintenance worker 2 position be reclassified to a permanent maintenance worker 2 position.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zepp?
Second.
Thank you. I see no one in the queue, so I will prompt the question. The question's now open. And carried. Thank you. 11.4, 2022 audited consolidated financial statements. We all run for our buttons. Councillor Zepp.
That the audited consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2022 be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute any necessary documents on behalf of the city if required.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second that.
Thank you. The question's now open. And carried. Thank you. 11.5, 2023 care home abatements. Oh. Holy, what's Councillor Zepp.
Thank you. I move a motion that a care home abatement,
Were you changing the motion?
correct, that a care home abatement be offered through the application process under policy 5.1.
Okay, if we get a seconder, then can get some debate. Of course, I'll go to a reliable seconder, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Yes, I will second.
Thank you. Discussion? Okay, maybe you want to, because I don't have a clue what that is.
Oh,
Maybe if
cer-
you want to explain it, because we don't
Certainly.
know what policy.
I'll be
5.1.
brief. Yes, so the last paragraph of the report is the other options to recommendation. And so it's just a small paragraph, and it indicates that an option for us at council is that we could offer the care home abatement annually through the application process under policy 5.1, which the policy has criteria, as we see in other items here, 11.6 it gets used in, for when organizations are seeking a tax abatement. There are different criteria. It requires the organizations to provide the city with financial statements and how they're doing financially. And it also, one of the criteria is that you are a nonprofit or something similar to a nonprofit, something similar. And so it seemed as though that's something that we may want to consider is that if we're doing that for other organizations like 11.6, that we may want to follow our policy, which is there, and provide it, that seemed to be something we should be considering.
Okay, thank you. So I have Councillor Botnick and then Councillor Head. Councillor Botnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't believe that we're even suggesting something like this. If we think about where we came from, this whole reason why we're giving abatements to these care homes is because the government changed how we classify care homes to be businesses. And we made a special category that these are personal care home. They are businesses, but they're personal care homes. And we decided that we're going to offer taxes to these people based on the amount of that building that is actual business related and the amount of that building or that home that is residential. And that's what it's about. These care homes, these are seniors. These are our most vulnerable people. And that's their home. It's not a business to them. That's where they live. That's their home. That's where they sleep. That's where they eat. That's the actual home. There is a part of that care home or those care homes that are business related. The office and places and parts of the building like that. But this, and then to say that we have to have them apply, we're going to make it more difficult. We're going to put more red tape in for a business or a care home that is offering this service that the public system can't handle right now. We don't have enough spaces for seniors to live. And so that's why we now have these personal care homes, because the provincial government or the governments don't have the spaces for these. So where are these seniors to go to live? And so we're going to make it more difficult for them. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm so opposed to this motion, and if this gets defeated, I will move the original motion, that these 15 care homes that are operating in Prince Albert provide a needed service to the residents of this community. And to say we're going to make it difficult or we're going to tax the living crap out of them, you know, if you think about that one care home, when this debate came up first, that care home would have had to add $200 a month rent per resident to pay the taxes. Their taxes went from $56,000 to $155,000 based on being classified as a business only. And that's why we as a council, it wasn't unanimous, but the majority of us as a council said this is wrong and we are going to correct this and we're going to make this right so that our seniors that have paid so much in taxes, continue to pay taxes in those care homes, can live out the remainder of their life in a facility that provides them the basic necessities and dignity so that they can age and then die in dignity, basically. That's what this is about. And to say that we're going to make it difficult is just hogwash, in my opinion. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor, and I will move the other motion once this one gets defeated.
Thank you. Any other comments? I see no one in the queue. Okay, I'm going to prompt the question. Oh, do I have to? I can use this one. Okay. Okay, the vote is now open. And it is defeated 7-2. Councillor Botnick.
I move that the municipal property tax abatement for 16 personal care homes in the amount of $12,643.99 be approved, and that the education property tax abatement portion for 15 personal care homes be based on approval from the Ministry of Saskatchewan if required and the separate school division.
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
I will second that.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick. Oh, sorry. Shift, sorry. Councillor Edwards.
I will be voting yes to this motion in favor and support of our seniors.
Thank you. Oop. Councillor Zepp.
So the option to the recommendation, I just want to note it's from the report. An alternative would be for the abatement to be offered through an application process. The process would be consistent with other tax relief provided by the city under Policy 5.1. Policy 5.1 provides relief based on the social benefit an organization provides, and it also requires certain criteria such as nonprofit or something similar. And so the reason that we're talking about this is because that we have many organizations in our city who do meet that criteria of providing a very valuable service. Fair enough. Which ones do we provide tax abatement for and which do we not? Right now, we have a policy that states that we take applications, and if they meet the criteria, then we do consider those to be for tax abatement. And part of that process, and it's in the report, states that when you apply for a tax abatement under Policy 5.1, you also provide your financials to show, if you are in need of these tax abatements or not.
Councillor Miller.
Yes, also speaking of seniors, I often think of seniors who live in their houses and are still paying property taxes as well. And so we're just going to download the rest of this money onto them as well. That's why I'm not in support of it.
Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple things. First of all, every resident that lives in a care home pays property taxes. To suggest that they're not paying property taxes is not correct. Part of their rent is property taxes. Part of it is the care that they get. Part of it is the food, etc. That's what it's about. Second, to compare senior care homes or care homes to Catholic Family Services or SPCA or the Masonic Temple is mind-boggling to me. Like, how can we, there's no comparison. Those are organizations that, yeah, they provide services, and yes, we can abate their taxes. But to suggest that they should be categorized the same as a care home is just not right, in my opinion. And therefore, we've been doing this for the past, I don't know how many years since this has come in 2018, I think it was, when we first started abating the taxes. I think Councillor Cody and I moved the motion back then, and it just is so wrong to compare them to these other organizations. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you very much, Mayor. My question is for the Director or Acting Director of Financial Services. I just would like a reminder of why there is a different structure for these care homes. Like there's a formula, I think, and if she could remind us from the report what that structure is and why. Is that possible?
Go ahead. Acting Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the question. So there was a change previously as personal care homes had been classified as a residential property. However, there was a change, I believe maybe it was 2010 or 2018, where they got changed to commercial. And at that time, there was a difference between the taxable inclusion. So they used to be included at 100%, so it got changed down so they would only be taxed at the residential portion, which was 80%. However, there was a change in the 2021 reval where that percentage difference got narrower, so businesses are 85% versus residential properties are 80%. So now essentially this abatement is taking the taxes and changing them to as if they were taxed as a residential property, which is in line with the classification that they were historically.
And by they, we're referring specifically to the for-profit care home. The non-for-profit use are applied through Section 51, or, sorry, I've lost my train.
Policy 51?
Policy 51.
Yes, correct. So under this abatement, we aren't necessarily looking at the criteria under Policy 51. We're just looking at the property classification.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good answer. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Very bottom. Right there, found it. Thank you. It is now open. And carried. $11.6, request for tax relief. Councillor Cody?
Yes, Your Worship, I move that the tax abatement of $2,744 for the portion of the 2023 taxes attributable to the separate school division for the Catholic Family Services of Prince Albert, Inc., a property located at 1008 First Avenue West, be approved, conditional upon approval by the separate school board, that the tax abatement of $5,729.01 for the Prince Albert SPCA for the property located at 1125 North Industrial Drive be approved, and that the tax abatement for $942.50 for the Masonic Temple Corporation for the property located at 292 15th Avenue East be approved.
Thank you. Seconder?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to second this motion.
Thank you. Questions now open. Oh, I'm missing one. Got it, thank you. Approved. 11.7, Rose Garden Hospice, abatement, proportional year 2023. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to move that a tax abatement of $10,489.32 for the Rose Garden Hospice for the year 2023 for the term of January 2023 to May 31st, 2023 be approved as follows. Number one, the municipal property tax portion in the amount of $6,577.16, and two, the education property tax portion in the amount of $3,912.16, subject to approval from the Ministry of Saskatchewan and the separate school division.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Solomon.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that, please.
Thank you. Councillor Cody.
Yeah, I agree certainly with the motion, but I'm just wondering, is this not a portion of the Health Act where it automatically gets rebated without us having to do it? Or what is the score there? I thought I heard at one time that because this was a health facility, that it was going to be under the Health Act, as a result, automatically would not be taxed.
It is under the Health Act, unfortunately not affected till May 31st. So we're just abating the first 4 months of the year. And after that, you won't see that again, because once it's approved by the province, it doesn't come back to us. It's automatically abated. You're welcome. Councillor Solomon, did you have any more to add? Nope. Okay, I'll prompt the question. Questions now open. And carried. Thank you. 11.8, bylaw number 1623, rezone bylaw digital sign fees. Oop. Sorry, Councilor Kilmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that bylaw number 16 of 2023 be introduced and given first reading, and that the administration provide notification to hold a public hearing.
Thank you. Councilor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Question is now open and carried. Thank you. 11.9. Oh, sorry, first reading.
Mayor, we have bylaw number 16 of 2023 to amend the zoning bylaw to amend the fee schedule for digital sign permits from $250 to $400. This bylaw is for first reading only.
Councilor Kilmer.
Thank you. I move that bylaw number 16 of 2023 be introduced and read first time.
Thank you. Councilor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question on the bylaw. First reading. It is now open and carried. Thank you. 11.9, residual land sale, offer to purchase 590 42nd Street East. Councilor Kilmer.
Thank you. I'll move that the offer to purchase from Aquifer Investments Limited for 590 42nd Street East in the amount of $6,519.50 be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the sale and development agreement and any other required documentation on behalf of the city.
Councilor Edwards.
I'll second that, your worship.
Thank you. Oop, hang on, I'll go back to you, Councilor Head. Councilor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a question. I guess, why is this coming to City Council? I get there's an exception to this purchase, but if you could explain a little bit, I'm not opposed to it, just wanting a little information rather than what the report says as well.
Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Head, for the question. So essentially, this is a very small, undeveloped tract of city-owned property. Just west of this property, as shown on the map, is currently being purchased by Prince Albert Aquifer Investments, who are hoping to expand their business. And it works out well for us because, as you know, again, this is undevelopable, and we sold it at $1 a square foot, which is as per typical historical policy. And in order to set those values, they do require City Council approval, if not already previously set. So that's why it's in front of you today.
Okay, thank you for that answer.
Okay, I'll prompt the question. Questions now open and carried. Thank you. $11.10, Destination Marketing Fund Grant Application Form, Prince Albert U15 Softball Championships Nationals Softball Tournament. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the new event destination marketing fund grant application from the Prince Albert U15 Boys Softball Nationals for funding the softball tournament scheduled for August 9th to 13th, 2023, in the amount of $15,000 be approved, and that the $15,000 be funded from the destination marketing levy reserve, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the funding agreement on behalf of the city.
Councillor Kilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Questions now open? Carried. Thank you. Shopping cart fees. Councillor Miller.
Thanks, Mayor Dion. That bylaw number 12 of 2023 be given a third and final reading.
Seconder. Councillor Gilmer.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Edwards.
Thanks, Mayor Dion. Just one question. How much money would the city be making off of taking a cart to the dump for people to collect, for businesses to collect? Would the city be generating a profit? Or would we be probably losing a little bit of money in staffing and
She's joining collecting.
no one really wants to take a stab at that?
The director, new acting director, he put his light on. He's being bold.
Thank you, Mayor, for the question, Councillor. In terms of the staff time, it'd be really hard to break it down. I mean, when we're out doing pickups, these things get looped into staff members, normal routines through the city.
Yeah.
It'd be very rare that a staff member would be for a single call going to do that as one activity and then and doing a round trip. Certainly, we anticipate there'd be a number of shopping carts a year, so you'd be getting, generating a bit of revenue.
Yeah, we're certainly not generating revenue on this motion by collecting shopping carts and taking them out of the city, just removing them off the side streets or out of the alleys or wherever as a service to the public to help clean up. I certainly never received any phone calls against the $10 from any business whatsoever. Just for public clarity, I wanted to ask that question because there seems to be some form of discrepancy that the city's like making large dollars on this, and it's just not accurate information. So this is a service to the public, so we can actually collect them, take them to a spot where the businesses can recuperate them. Because I think otherwise they were going sometimes to the metal shop or someplace where the businesses could not recuperate them, and to buy them would be, I think they're a $500 to $1,000 cart. So this does save the business money by the city providing a service to go out, take them to the garbage dump for collection by the business. I just wanted that clarification. Thank you.
Welcome. I see no one else in the queue. Questions now open. And carried. Who supported me? Tony. All right, Tony. Okay, moving along, number 12.
No.
Oh,
Mayor?
you're
we-
really becoming a bother.
Mayor, we have bylaw number 12 of 2023 to amend the waste collection and disposal bylaw to add a fee for the pickup of shopping carts collected by the city. This bylaw is for third and final reading.
Councilor Miller.
Thanks, Mayor. That bylaw number 12 of 2023 be read a third time, passed, and that bylaw number 12 of 2023 be now adopted, sealed, signed by the mayor and city clerk.
Thank you. Councilor Kilmer,
I'll second that.
didn't want to let you in. Okay, I'll prompt the question. Now open. And carried. Okay, now we're moving on. Number 12, unfinished business. We have none. Number 13, mayors and city councilors forum. It's been pretty quiet, so we'll see what we got. Councilor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank all those that attended the official opening of the George Sutherland Park. It was a good event. It was organized, I assisted the family in organizing it, and they had, Mr. Sutherland, as we know, he had, I think 11 or 12 children, and they are spread out across Western Canada. They came, they made a weekend of a family reunion, and we opened the park, and it was a very good event. I know Mayor Dion, you attended, as well as Councillor Kilmer, and the family was very appreciative of it. And secondly, I just want to announce that this Saturday, July 15th at 2 p.m. is the official opening of the Thomas Settee Park. That's on McDonald Avenue in Crescent Heights, and we'll follow the same format and hopefully have a nice turnout of the community members showing their support of this World War II veteran. So thank you.
And thank you for the work you do. Councilor Zepp.
I wanted to say thank you to the PA Downtown Business Improvement District for the street fair that was last month after our last council meeting, and it was very well attended, and lots of people in our city really enjoy having that opportunity, and it was a really good time with a lot of things to do. Next week is Kids Fest at Kinsman Park on July 20th. In the afternoon, it's always a very good time, and the city does a really nice job of that with our, and it's operated by our summer playground leaders, and so that's, I think, pretty important. And just wanted to give a plug for that, the summer playground program, is that many children in our city really utilize that program. It's a free program, afternoons in many of our parks in the city, and I hear far and wide that people appreciate that program.
Thank you. Anyone else? None? I'm going to move on then to inquiries. And I have one inquiry to Public Works. Public Works were doing work underneath the bridge and close to it, and they had to bring down a heavy excavator to do the work, which we understand. But in that process, they literally destroyed the rotary trail. And it's left with gullies in it, and I'm asking the department to take immediate action, and that the crew that was down there should have, filled it in with gravel or took some action, because it's very well used. And I've been getting quite a few calls, both by walking traffic and people on bikes, that now they got two big gullies to pass. So if I could ask Public Works to go back and fix the rotary trail, it'd be muchly appreciated. Okay. Anyone, Councillor Brodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have three. First one is, I think it's planning. The Coal Falls project. We had made a motion
Yes.
a while back, and we were supposed to go out and visit the site, and then a report was supposed to come back of potential for the Coal Falls site, and I was just wondering, where is that at?
Director Hersey. Director of Public Works.
Planning. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh,
Thank you, Councillor O'Grodnick.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
if
just
we
give
ask
us-
Public Works, they'll get us there.
It was a joint, it was a motion for jointly to myself and our Director of Community Services. I believe it involved, yes, a tour of the site and some reporting back. There's a little bit of back and forth that went there, so we'll be sure to include it with the inquiry responses, so we give you up-to-date information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Second one, well, I know it wasn't answered, but I'll submit it in a written answer will happen. Second one is, again, to planning, it was engine, if we remember, engine 5080, the locomotive that was at the exhibition grounds was given to Aspen Railways and Trains to restore. And this was back in 2019, so 4 years ago already. And we were supposed to be given a report back of where it's at, possible for us to go and visit and ride on it. And I'm just wondering where this is at as well.
I'll answer that. Department doesn't know. I'll actually have a letter delivered for our next council meeting from the Prince Albert exhibition. They still kept involved with it. The restoration is like 90%. It's almost complete. And they intend to invite us, council and the exhibition, to the inaugural running of the rail. So, but I'll ask them to give us a report, and they also have pictures. So I'll ask them for the next meeting, just to give us a letter and pictures.
Okay, thank
That's a
you.
great update.
Thank you. And my third one is to corporate services. Back in November 29th, 2021, I made a motion that we bring a report to council dealing with the public and written abuse of our staff as well as the elected. And we've been just being delayed. 20 months later, there's still nothing, and we're supposed to get a report within 3 months. When council makes a motion, administration is supposed to respond within 3 months. This is 20 months, and there's still nothing. And I'm wondering how much more delay is going to happen before we get a report. I brought this up March 6th. I was told that we're going to have a report in June. It's July 10th, and there's still no report. So where are we at with this?
Okay.
Let's get this done.
Yeah, I'll ask them to supply us a written report.
Pardon?
I'll get a written report for us on the status of it.
Well, hopefully there's a policy that comes forward. That's what was asked in the motion.
Yeah.
And we're 20 months later, and there's still nothing. And it's frustrating. When council makes a motion, administration should act. And they're given 3 months to respond. And as I said, it's 20 months. That's just about 2 full years. Still nothing. So it's frustrating, Mr. Mayor.
And I agree, and I understand, and we'll get a report with a solid date on it.
But we were promised that once, well, not once, several times before. And still nothing's happening. And so I don't know, how an administration can continue to do this.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, are there any other inquiries? No? Okay. Inquiry responses, June 12th, 23, City Council meeting, inquiry responses. Councillor Miller.
Thanks, Mayor. That the inquiry responses be received and filed.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. I'll prompt the question. Questions now open. Carried. Thank you. Notice of motions? Okay, seeing none. Seeing none, I move on to motions, and I'll pass the chair to Councillor Edwards. Oh, yeah, turn you on.
Thanks, Mayor Dion. Go ahead.
I move that the administration prepare a report that outlines the plan and the cost to rebuild Cloverdale Road into street for condition during, if possible, the 23 work year, if not, as part of their plan for the 24 budget. And if I get a seconder, I'll speak on it.
One moment, we're just gonna see the motion here first. Does that read correct?
Administration prepare a report to consideration during 20, and if possible. Yep.
Okay, Mayor Dion moved the motion. Do we have a seconder? Counselor Lennox Zepp.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Mayor
Okay,
Dion.
Thank you for this opportunity. And the reason that I brought it up that it might be able to do, I don't want this added to our budget. I want it developed and repaired within the budget that Public Works has for road repairs. And the reason that I brought Cloverdale Road forward, before I was mayor, for 19 years, Cloverdale Road has been an issue. It's really got an issue the last couple of years to the point where we're grading it constantly now. So they are working on it. And it's just a sand road. It was never built. There's no base on it. And so lots of times after a heavy rainstorm and it gets so washed out, we actually drive in the ditch. And the residents, you go out there now, you can see on the right-hand side, there's a steady trail. You can see that they've been using the ditch. And in talking to the director, there may be an opportunity to fix it this year, but not, if not, I wanted it to be guaranteed part of the 24 plan, because after 19 years, and they've been more than fair and reasonable to us. They do pay the asphalt fee, even though they don't have it, but they understand they use it in the city. And so they thought it was just time that we stepped up and helped them out. It's the main feeder road into all the streets into that subdivision and actually over the tracks into Buckland. When you get across the tracks, then it becomes Buckland, and they have their treatment, and they have a few other offices out there. But this road is a constant headache. As soon as it rains, we've got to send a grader north of the river. So if you look at the cost of sending a grader all these times, we would have been better off to fix the road. So I'd like to have a permanent solution to fix the road and put actually a base down, so it's actually a real road and not a sand trail. That's my comments for now.
Okay, Counselor Lennox Zepp.
So I second those comments. I think the mayor is probably getting similar phone calls as I receive from folks who live out in, and use Cloverdale Road to get to their homes. It does seem to be constant. We do seem to be needing to grade it very, very frequently. Just last week, I received another correspondence from a resident there saying that they were needing to take the ditch and use the ditch because it was undrivable. And I invite, as the residents would say to all of us, they invite us to drive that road and see if it is drivable for us, and it often is not.
Okay, any other discussions on the motion?
No one's in the queue.
No, seeing none, we'll open the vote. The vote's open.
Carried.
And the motion
Carried 8-1.
carries. Thank you. Pass the chair back to you, Mayor.
No, I've got another
Oh,
motion.
another.
Sorry.
I'll stay here then.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, Mayor
Okay.
Dion.
That administration prepare a report that outlines a 3-year plan to finish applying asphalt savings to the streets of Noydale and Hazel beginning in '24 for consideration in the '24 budget.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Counselor Lennox Zepp.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay,
Discussion.
just to give you some history on where I'm going with this one, is, as you know, Noydale's a bedroom community. It doesn't have water, it doesn't have sewer. The only thing we supply to it is police and fire, and we grade. What happened is a few years ago, and I'm going to say when we first started, so I'm going to say 10 years ago, when we first started our paving program, we took the shavings out to Noydale, and we spread them all over some of the streets. We were supposed to do them all, but we ran out of shavings. And then what we did is we did an experiment by applying an oil product, which was ended up being like cooking oil from KFC. And on a hot day, you send the roller over it and you flattened it, and it actually almost turned it into pavement. It sort of gelled it together. Well, what happened is we've never completed that program, so we have streets out there that are not shaved, and some are. And then the other problem is we haven't kept up with some of the repairs that were required because we keep using the shavings somewhere else. But we should remember that we do have that, and we should save some so that we could do repairs out on the roads there because we require shavings. And it's really come to a highlight because the main portion that is not done at all is just south of the Esso station. You'll see it, there's a sand road there, and where it's really come to highlight now, and I'm going to ask the director to speak. We've had quite a few more issues, but they've been caused by the reconstruction of that highway because there's no ditch there. So they've been suffering with other problems with runoff and sites and stuff like that. But the director's going to deal with that because we believe we can get the highways to correct the problem because they caused it. But we're not asking to do it immediately because they understand that that we do use these chips, and that's why we've asked for a sort of a 3-year plan to come up and complete it, and then that'll be enough to make them happy because some of them have it and some of it don't. And it did work very well. We never did get a report back why we did not continue with that program where we spread it and put this cooking oil on it. I don't know. It's one day I might ask that, but we've been using our chips for so many other uses, and this year mainly, we've been using it out at the Little Red, building a new parking lot and a new parking area, which is great because it's going to be the Adventure Park. But I also think it is time now that we complete Nordale and Hazeldale and bring it up to a standard. Again, they have no asphalt whatsoever, so that's why we're using these shavings. And we started the program, and we're probably 2/3 done, and we never completed it. So I'm just asking that we complete it and repair the rest of the roads out there. Thank you.
Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I do support this motion. I think that we should be looking at all our gravel roads. And I guess that's my point. What is the charge to us? I know you're asking for a report and a plan, but the charge, I know there in some areas in Midtown, there's roads that still remain gravel. And so can we see what the cost of those look like? And I imagine, and I know there's an application to kind of conduct that oiling program and or asphalt or paving. So I would hope that those roads would be included as well with this report.
I like that idea.
Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you very much. I concur with Councillor Head. I do wonder if there's a 3-tier now. I'm hearing a 3, paving, asphalt shaving, oiling, and, is there a process? How do people apply? Those kind of things. So I do think it's, although very well needed, there are some in all of our wards, I think, roads that fall into this exact category. And how is it funded? What is the process?
You would like to respond to that, Mayor Dion?
I'd like to comment, closing
You
comments.
have comment? Okay.
The reason, and I agree with Councillor Head, and I agree with you all, West Flat, East. The reason I brought this forward is this is where we've actually started the program and never finished. So that's why I brought this one forward, because I agree with your statement. Maybe once we get on this, we should have a program now. But I'd also maybe ask for a report on how that did turn out, where we used the chips and then put cooking oil on it. Maybe we should find that out, because maybe that is the answer to West Flat, Midtown, for the rest of the city, that we should look up that report. And so I'm going to actually amend my motion a little, is I'm going to add a number 2, that administration bring back a previous report and what happened to that program where we were putting down asphalt chips, packing it, and adding cooking oil to bind it to a hard surface. Because once we get that, that may answer, let's go to Midtown and West Flat. Because if that program does work, it'd certainly be cheaper then. And it may be cheaper because we did try to get chips from the highway. As you know, they're doing both highways, but now highways don't give up those chips, they actually use it. They have a program where they use it. So I think we have an opportunity, even though we've been using those chips, and I'm not complaining, for our own use, which has been great. We did the landfill road. This year, if you go out there, most of the loads have gone to Little Red for the parking lot, the surface areas. So I don't have an issue because we are reusing it, and that's important. But I think the reason I brought these 2 areas forward is we did start the program, we didn't finish it, so all they're asking is that we finish the program, and then I like the idea when we get number 2, we can look at spreading the program into Midtown and the West Flat, where we do not have payment. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Dion. I would just have one comment myself. I would certainly like to see, the cost of what's going to the residents. Because if we pave a road, the residents pay. This is kind of an alternative. They do pay for oil already. So I agree. If we can do it in chips and it's a cost savings, terrific. But that cost should go to the residents on those streets because the rest of us have all paid for the pavement in front of our homes over time. Councillor Lennox Zapp.
I agree with the amendment, and I agree with the comments that were made by my colleagues, that makes sense to be looking at it in a wholesome way. I would think the mayor's receiving the same phone calls that I'm receiving, that these roadways, Nordale and Hazeldale, really are not appropriate. I actually, last week, was asked to come and take a ride through Nordale with a resident, and I did so just to highlight the change, that terrain changes as you drive around Nordale area, and that really the issue is those asphalt shavings. The residents are thinking that this program should be finished and completed, and both Nordale and was mentioned in the motion, Hazeldale, need to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Vote's open.
Vote, yeah, sorry. Carried unanimously. Thank you for your
Motion
support.
carries unanimously. I'll pass the chair back now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 17.3, motion, Councillor Lennox Zapp, feasibility of opening summer hours recreation earlier in 24.
So I move that administration prepare a report regarding the feasibility of opening summer recreational services such as splash pads, Kinston Water Park, and Kinston Park washrooms earlier in the 2024 season.
Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion? Do you want to hear discussion first? Do you want to explain?
Either way, I can give just a very brief
go ahead.
highlight. Is just that I don't know if, I guess I'm curious if other members of council have also heard and received the phone calls in the early days of those hot days, as summer's beginning. When will the splash pads be open? Can't we operate these services a little bit earlier? And so I'm not asking or suggesting any funds yet. I just think that it would make sense to at least determine the feasibility. What is the cost? Learn a little bit more about that. And one point I wanted to make is that we have, for several of these items, we've paid for that infrastructure. We know how expensive it is to open up a new splash pad now. And so I'm going to use splash pad as an example because it doesn't use any staffing and it might be the lowest hanging fruit here. But for splash pads, no staff. We just need obviously we have to have the pipes thawed. They have to be ready to go. But we've paid for those splash pads, and maybe we, as a council, want to look into if we can turn those on any earlier, if it is, feasible for weather.
And I agree with that statement, but for the rest of them opening the Kinston Water Park and that, I can't support the motion because I've had this report come back to us 3 or 4 times, the same answer. We don't get our seasonal staff. We need seasonal staff to operate lifeguards, and those are university students. And this isn't the first time, so it won't be quick if it passes to get a report, because it's going to come back. I've seen this report 3 times now in my career here, that we would all like it open earlier. So if we could solve the problem of university students and staffing, that's the only problem. You can't open something with your staff. I do like your idea maybe about the splash parks where there's no staff required, but there would be staff required to go around, thaw them, put all the equipment back on, because they take quite a bit of the stuff around and they winterize it. So I'll wait and see what the rest feels like, but at this point I can't support it because I've had this report brought back to council 3 more times, and the issue was staff. And maybe if you get a chance when we're done, we'll ask the director. Councillor Edwards.
Thanks, Mayor Dion. Yeah, that was what I was going to do. We have the expert sitting here in our chair, the Director of Community Services. I'm sure he understands the rationale why we're not opening these. I mean, certainly the splash parks, I know that they get to them as soon as they can, and it has to do with thawing and making sure the pipes aren't going to refreeze. So maybe we can hear from the director. I don't personally think we should have a report on this. At this point, I'm not prepared to support the motion, but I certainly would love to hear from the director, who I'm sure has all the answers right now.
Go ahead, Director.
And that's not a sarcastic comment.
Oh,
Thank you, Mayor Dion and members of council. So certainly this is an item that has come up before, as you've noted. The challenge comes into play when we do get the warmer weather. This usually arises early in the season. There are years where we don't get that warmer weather, and then that demand isn't there from the public either. We've tried to balance that out over time. This comes down to staffing, as has been noted. It also comes down to competing priorities. So we have to also recall the staff that has the responsibility of getting the splash pads and the washrooms up and running, also have the responsibility of getting all the irrigation up and running throughout the entire city. So we do have competing priorities when it comes down to that. We do try in those years where there is that demand because of the heat, like we did this year, then that's where we try to prioritize those splash pads, get them up and running sooner. And as you say, the low-hanging fruit, certainly we like to try to get, there's no supervision, easy maintenance when it comes to those splash pads, which is the benefit of them. The water park, though, really does come down to staffing. The staffing don't return until just after the May long weekend. We then have a requirement because of the certifications that are required with the lifeguards to do a orientation when they return. That orientation takes that first week just after the May long weekend, so about 4 days, to get up and running into the next week partially, and then we plan to open that first Friday in June every year. So that's typically been how that balances out. So certainly heard the pressure this year, the department did as well, because of the weather. However, please keep in mind in the years where we don't get that weather early on in the season, we don't receive that demand, and certainly it's a tough balance when we get the heat. So that's what comes into consideration each year, and certainly in the years where we can get the splash pads up and running sooner, have our irrigation network throughout the city running, those become the balancing priorities.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dion. Thanks for the response, Director. It sounds like it's already in the plan each year to review where we're at, so I won't be supporting the motion.
Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I guess the one way of solving all this, we could open in the beginning of May or in April, but that would require us adding to our budget and staff. If we hired more staff, then sure, we'd be able to do this. But as the director said, you know, we have a limited amount of staff. They have priorities. I know we pushed and we put pressure on community services to make sure the cemetery is cleaned for Mother's Day in May. And so the staff that are full-time, that's where they focus in getting that looking presentable for Mother's Day weekend. And so without increasing our staff and without voting in favor of a budget that increases our staff, this is not going to happen. And so I don't think we should pass this, because we heard the response, and maybe the motion should say to increase staff in our 2024 budget, and then we could have it open earlier and then vote in favor of the budget.
Okay, any other discussion? Councillor Ed.
No, thank you. I appreciate the comments, and as a seconder of the motion, I kind of, rethinking this. But it is important that we reassess and get the conversation going about every year what makes sense.
Yeah.
And so all we're asking on this motion is for a report. And yeah, it may be a quick one to say it's impossible, or here's what it's going to cost the residents, which would make it an easier decision for us in budget deliberations. But thank you for your comments, and yeah, we'll wait to see where this lands.
Yeah, it's a tough one because we have the answer, and we've had the answer before. Councillor Edwards, back to you.
Thanks. Just one more comment. The difficulty I have is the report takes time, and
Yes.
our directors, our staff are busy, and we have a lot of demands on them, as we hear, and we're missing reports from a couple of years ago. So we would like those reports. I don't think this is necessary, and it's a cost to the city that we don't need.
Councillor Zapp?
Thank you. Question for Director of Community Services, and please tell me, there may be something here that I don't know about. I'm just wondering, my understanding is that university classes end at the end of April, and we've talked about the orientation that's required for safety for our lifeguards. Have we ever considered the orientation occurring before the May long weekend, as you pointed out?
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Lennox, for your inquiry. We certainly have. The challenge that we have, though, in moving the orientation sooner is, please keep in mind we have the Frank Dunn Pool still operating. So with our resources scheduled there, we have the requirement for the indoor facility, the orientation for the water park season, and then leading up to the actual opening of the water park season. So trying to shift that earlier while we still have staff dedicated to the indoor operation at Frank Dunn Pool has become a challenge.
And looking into future, when we are operating the new pool, is the intention to continue operating that indoor new pool throughout the summer months when the Kinsman Water Park is open, or is the intention to close that?
So we're working on that operating model right now. We will be presenting those options to members of council. The thing to keep in mind about the indoor facility, including even the current Frank Dunn Pool, but the upcoming new aquatics facility, is you do have to have a scheduled period of time where you can perform your preventative maintenance. So we feel in the early stages of the operating model development that the timing for that would be best suited during the water park season. So maintenance staff can be focused on the downtime at the indoor facility so that we're not competing with the outdoor. I'm not saying it takes the whole time that the water park is open, but I think it's best suited to time it when we have the ability to open the water park, perform the preventative maintenance there, and then once that's complete, then we're able to open that back up and close down the water park. So it seems to me in the early stages of the development that the transition would make most sense to time it in that manner.
I appreciate that. So those are all the questions that I can think of. I appreciate all of the comments that I heard on this topic. I don't think any of them are not accurate, and I won't go through each of them. My thought is that it really comes down to priorities at budget time, and maybe it's not something that council would want to pay for it. For example, the example that was given is, do we pay for extra staffing or not? We don't know. However, it just seems as though it's something that we should at least have a dollar figure, that there's some value in having that knowledge, so that we can make our decisions with knowledge. And so that's why I am hoping that we consider this motion and that we do pass it, so that we can then have those dollar figures. Otherwise, someone like me shows up to budget committee and says, I think that I want to propose having the water park open earlier. And then I hear, well, you don't know how much it costs. Well, I tried. I'd like to know how much it would cost, so that we can make proposals and have those deliberations, because everything at budget committee is just, what's the priority for the dollar?
Okay, thank you. Good debate. I'm still going to support the motion strictly. I heard the director. We have challenges. It's on the radar. It's not like they're putting it away. I am pleased to hear that we're looking at the programming of our new pool. When it opens, only shut it down for a short period of time so we can get more swimming lessons in. That's what I'm more concerned about than opening a splash park a week earlier, because it's all about, it's like the director said, I certainly want his job, because lots of his job when it comes to park is all about the weather. If it's hot, give it to us. If it's cold, no conversation. And so there's a balancing act, and I think we do a great job supplying it, especially all our splash parks are free, so that's even a bigger priority, because we do have families that can't afford it. So I do support what the director said, and I won't be supporting the motion, and I'll prompt the question. Question is now open. And the motion's defeated, 7-2. Okay, I'll move on. We have no one registered for public forum. Councillor Kilmar.
I move that this council do now adjourn.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zepp, all in favor?